prep time has expired. This is a just test for the Momiji Cup 2017. The motion is this House believes that the Japanese government should allow individuals to opt out from national pension system. Without any further ado, I'd like to call Prime Minister to open the case within 7 minutes. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, national pension system is totally different from the usual welfare or the nation's duty to stabilize the entire society, because national pension system will be refunded only for their own individual who paid their money, and the problem in the status quo is already this system is fluctuated and corrupted. We believe, especially in this context, states have no justification to unjustly limit the usage of money which is own property acquired through the effort. That's why we're happy to propose today. I have 3 arguments in my speech. Firstly, why usage of money should be decided by individual, not by the state. Secondly, in the status quo, how national pension system is failing, therefore national pension system no longer function as a welfare to support the elderly's life. Thirdly, after plan how we can comparatively increase the individual choices to actualize their own happinesses. Before that, let me clarify 2 models from our side of the house. Firstly, under our paradigm, those individuals can choose whenever they want to opt out or either re-opt into the national pension system. Then those people will be refunded the equivalent money which they have paid during the time they are opting into. And the second model is if opposition sides care the current elderly who already have paid the national pension system, we are happy to temporarily allocate the larger amount of budget to provide sufficient money for the elderly who have already paid the national pension system. Therefore, this debate should be out after the new national pension system was adopted. Let me compare both paradigms, which side is better system for actualizing their own happiness of individual. Having said that, let me provide the principle of our side of the house. We believe the freedom of individual in using their own property is extremely important based on 2 reasons. Firstly, because those property was acquired through their own effort. For example, they spend huge amount of time by working, etc., etc. We believe those people deserve the equivalent privilege to utilize their own property, which deserves their time they have spent or efforts they have made. And the second reason is, we believe individual is the supreme actor to judge what is the happiness for yourself, because states are incapable of examining all of citizens who have totally different preferences living in the society. That's why we believe individuals deemed to be the best actor to actualize their own happinesses. That's why in the status quo, those individuals can freely do gamble or study abroad or eat hearty food, whatever they want to do. They might say, of course we recognize this, that some tax or some nation duty are mandated for the individual citizens. However, the clear distinction from the tax and the national pension system is tax is required for the entire society. For example, providing infrastructure, establishing schools, etc., etc. On the contrary, national pension system is not like this, because national pension system is only for their own benefit, definitely, because the amount of money you have paid will be refunded only for you, not for the other individual who are relating to those monies or etc., etc. That's why we believe, especially in the case of a national pension system, which only relates to your own property, those individuals should have the sole autonomy to use their own money freely. So, based on this principle, let me provide the problem in the status quo. Firstly, we believe the precise reason why national pension system is failing in the status quo is a natural decrease in the population in the Japanese society, because now Japan is suffering from the aging society. It's factually true. And then how this decrease in the population jeopardizes the national pension systems, because the equivalent money they have paid cannot be practically refunded for those individuals. for example, please imagine in this year, 1 million people have paid 1,000 yen. Then, after they became elderly, in that year, 0.5 million, 0.1 million young people have paid 1,000 yen. Then those people who have paid 1,000 yen can only receive 500 yen. This kind of situation is actually occurring in the status quo Japan. Why this is problematic? Because the usage of money, or actually the amount of money, is extremely unjustly limited by the national pension system, which is mandated for the all over nations. And even if we assume this national pension system is not fluctuated, still it's unjust to limit the usage of money. Why? Because national pension system inherently limit the usage of the partial amount of money which can only be utilized after they got elderly, meaning those who have unfortunately died in the young age or who don't want to use money and after the elderly cannot utilize their own money freely in the young ages. Even if those people want to go, for example, go to study abroad by using huge amount of full of their assets, they cannot do so because they have to pay the national pension system. They have to give up partial amount of their assets to the government. We think this is actually limiting the individual choice of individuals. On the contrary, after plan, how we can rectify these kind of problems? Firstly, we think under our paradigm, those individuals can cautiously choose whether to opt into or opt out to those national pension systems, because year by year, those people can see the changing of the for example, changing number of people who have opted into the national pension system or who didn't opt into national pension system, meaning those individuals can choose, for example, when they become 20 or whenever they want, if the number of people who are opting into national pension system is increasing, they can see the data on the, for example, Ministry of Welfare, etc., that they can choose whether to opt into national pension system or not. And then if they don't want to opt into national pension system, then the full of assets will be up to those individuals' choices. We think this can actually expand the choice of individual, because if they want to freely use the asset of individual at that time, they can freely use, for example, they can go to abroad, etc. And we think though under our paradigm, actually we can increase the choice of individual and then individual choice is actually important rather than the state calculation in terms of maximizing happinesses, because as I told you, individuals are deemed to be the best actor to maximize the happiness of individual. That's what we have to propose.
Thank you for your remark. Next, I'd like to call leader of the opposition to open the opposition case within 7 minutes. Here.
Thank you, Chairperson. And some people who don't think in long term have a disease with a national pension system. Out of people don't think in long term. In order to protect people who can't think in long term, we are proud to oppose this proposal. Today I have two arguments to talk about. I'll explain why. Firstly, I'll explain why without the national pension system and system, some people suffer. Secondly, after taking this proposal, why national pension system can't function. Before moving to my argument, I have two rebuttals to Prime Minister. Government size setup model to under status quo to elderly people we can government use budget and budget. So elderly people under status quo get the money. But if government have budget for elderly people, we can sustain national pension system using the budget. So government size model is not the function. Secondly, government under the status quo national pension system is very unfair. And now young people pay, for example, young people pay 1,020, and if someone becoming elderly, they can get 500, and they said. But it's not important. The money's value are different from young to elderly. In young, a lot of people can. Some people, ordinary people can out of money, buy a lot of things, so they can buy meaningless goods and gambling effects, too much expensive car. But elderly people can don't have much money, so they can do a lot of meaningless things. If elderly man have little money, they can only eat food or only go to hospital. But they can use only if deprive. Money's value are different from young or to age.
Why those elderlies cannot be saved by the public assistance or other welfare services? Why those people should exclusively be saved by the national pension system?
Can't speak of it. So moving to my first argument. Firstly, why without national pension system some people suffer? The reason is some people tend to prioritize short term, and some people don't think in long term. The reason short term is very clear, and if you use in short term, they can get happiness in short term. But in long term, in long term is unclear. They can't image easily and unpredictable. So a lot of people tend to prioritize short term more than long term. It is very problem. Young man person have a lot of time and becoming elderly. Without the national pension system, they have, in worst case, they have no money. They can't, in worst case, they can't food and they can't go to hospital. So, elderly people can't live. Elderly people can't die or commit crime to get food or money. So, elderly people, without the national pension system, in worst case, elderly people are sick to living to get food or money. It is very serious. This situation occur harm to other people, and it is very bad for elderly people who don't think in long term. We should protect the elderly man who don't think long term. The character who don't think long term are very weaker character. Government should do the character. So without national pension system, they are very harmful, and we should protect the people. Moving to my second argument. Secondly, after taking this plan, why national pension system can't function. After taking this plan, some people create the national pension system. Some people create national pension system. More expanding, a lot of people would expand, creating more and more. So national pension system can't sustain and doesn't work. Getting monies for decreasing more and more. The reason is national pension system costs a lot of system fee or to sustain a lot of people think about national pension system. To sustain a lot of people use. So a number of people who join national pension system clearly but for people who want to join national pension system. So some people who don't want to, it is bad for some people who don't want the national pension system. That's why we are about to this.
Thank you for your speech. Next, I would like to call member of the government to extend the government case within 7 minutes. Here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, all rebuttal is including in my speech. So, I have three contents. First, alternative way. Second, how to solve the problem happening under the status quo. Third, whether the choice is irrational or not. So let me explain one by one. Firstly, alternative way. So to protect elderly people, so why we should take the pension system mandatory. So government is under the status quo. They gather the tax, right? So that is why government should we think that we are happy to support welfare system. So to protect elderly people in financial point. So it is not limited. The way is not limited to the pension system. Second point is that secondly, I talk about how to solve the problem happening under the status quo. So under the status quo, the pension system is mandatory. So that is why this is my partner clearly told you that this system is no longer suited to aging society in Japan. So in short, that the young people eventually they lose their own property, right? So if imagine that the 1 million people take the pension system this year, and 40 years later, the same number of people do 40 years later. So in this case, they have to get they get the same burden, right? So of course, there are little change, like some new people join or some people get out of it. But possibly it is not mandatory after taking this proposal. That is why possibly we can improve the problem happening, like the people lose their own property and the status quo. So possibly that we can improve this problem. That is why the that's why this can be the solution of happening in aging society. Third, I talk about whether the choice is rational or not. So under the status quo, people can choose. After taking this proposal, people can choose whether they can opt in or out a pension system. So what happened? So imagine one people, like he want live with his son in the future. So he can. So in this case, he don't need to opt in this system because the son can earn the money for him. Also, the one people who planning to live alone, in this case he may opt in this system because no one earn money for him. So if he worry about in future his own future, he can choose to opt in this system. Also people can save money by their own. So that is why we can say that this system is not necessarily for all people. Also, that the usage of money is depend on individuals. Like under the status quo, buying drug is banned under the status quo because this is irrational choice, right? But on the other hand, buying some food at restaurant or studying at a private school or etc., such kind of thing is not banned or punished under the status quo because this is irrational. So usage of because it is not irrational, this is rational choice. That is why so usage of money is totally depend on individuals if it is rational choice. So this is the same things in this topic, like whether opt in or out in pension system. So they can think and they can think their future and they can save money. So that is why this is rational choice. So as I told you, they can choose by their own in even in this case. So review. I have 3 points. Like firstly, alternative way to protect the elderly people, we can use welfare. And second point is possibly we can improve the problem happening under the status quo. Thirdly, this is not irrational choice. This is a rational choice. So that is why, according to these points, we're happy to propose. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Next, I'd like to call member of the opposition to extend opposition case within 7 minutes. Here.
speakers, I have two explanations in my speech. The first one I'm going to explain to you. So in terms of the principal level, so why the forcing everyone to pay pension cost that can be justified. And secondly, I'm going to explain to you the why after plan adoption their stances is rather costly and harmful for the society as a whole. But before that, several rebuttals to the previous speaker. The entire government side says that the opting out from the pension system is the individual's right, and the individual have the right, the freedom of the choices. But considering the characteristics of the elderly people, that analysis cannot stand, because the elderly people are more likely to be supported by the surrounding people. For example, when you become the elderly person, your physical strength gradually began to decline, and moreover they cannot earn money by their own because they retire their job when they become the elderly person. In those circumstances, they have to be dependent on the young people in our society. They need young people's support. In those circumstances, in their paradigm, and more the short-sighted people will opt out from the pension system. However, since they are the short-sighted, they cannot sustain their life by themselves when they become the elderly person. This necessarily means that they have to dependent on the young people more, and this become as a more social burden to young people, and young people have to care about the elderly people. But on the other hand, in our side, we guarantee that the pension system, as a consequence, at least everybody can sustain their life at the minimum level. So therefore, the social burden to young people will necessarily become lighter in our side. So therefore, we cannot allow the opting out from the pension cost just because of the individual right. Second of all, they said the limitation of the individual right is also the problem. For example, they said that if the people died at the young age, the money they have already paid become useless, and therefore the limitation of the usage is extremely problematic. But this analysis also doesn't make sense. Again. So, for example, look at the case of the tax system. So, for example, in tax system, we pay a lot of cost to sustain the tax system. So, for example, in tax system, tax monies are used for the building library. So, for example, even the number of the people who go to the library is now severely decreasing, and many people don't go to the library. However, the tax they paid is now used for the building library or the sustaining the public facilities. So therefore, even if they don't use the facilities or the system, that cannot be the reason to deny the public system itself. So therefore, their analysis is not important in today's debate. The first of all, in terms of the principle level, I have two reasons to support the national pension system. The first reason is, as I already told you, that people are short-sighted. By comparison, the government are at least better actor to care about the citizens' health conditions. Because the young people, I cannot imagine the cost they have to pay when they become the elderly people. They cannot imagine the possibility they get diseases. Because in that circumstance, young people are hesitate to pay money for their health care. They tend to use their money for the hobby or the other things. So but problem is that we cannot predict when we die, and there is a possibility that I will die tomorrow. But at the same time, there is a possibility that I will die when I become the 90 years old. So therefore, the young people tend to become the short-sighted, and moreover, they cannot predict when they die. So therefore, they don't have the capacity to save money properly in order to sustain their life. Therefore, the government is at least better because the government is the sustainable actor to care about the citizens' lives, and so therefore, by forcing every citizen to pay money, at least we can guarantee the money which can be used for the elderly, the people. The second reason is because the good health condition is common benefit everybody can share. Because we recognize that the keeping health, the good health condition is very important for us to achieve our own our happinesses. So therefore, this is the common benefit for us, that we can justify the force everyone to pay money in order to sustain everybody's the health condition. Yes.
Especially in Japan, there is a retirement age, and even for young people, it's easily presumable that they have to spare some kind of money for the elderly life because they think they will be fired by the company.
But the problem is that they cannot predict how much what amount of money is necessary for themselves, because as I already told you, they cannot predict when they die. So therefore, the national system is much more better, because as I already told you, we can allocate money efficiently to everybody. So for example, as they already told you, sometimes the young people unfortunately die at the young age. So therefore, the money they have paid for the pension system can be used for the other peoples in our paradigm, because these money are going to collected to the one big budget. So we can allocate the money in big budget to everybody efficiently and properly. So therefore, if everybody can participate in the pension system, so we can allocate the resources in better way. So we think this benefit is very important. So therefore, in our stances, we can achieve we can achieve the saving money. At the same time, their life can be sustained. That's why we propose.
Thank you for your speech. Next, I'd like to call reply speaker from opposition bench to summarize your case within 4 minutes. Here.
Thank you, Chairperson. Government side stand is auto people can choose what is best for them on, but our stance is auto people can't take best choice for them. Auto people are short-sighted. That is so as government we should protect people who are short-sighted. That's why. We, in order to protect short-sighted people, we are proud to oppose. And I have 2 points to talk about. Firstly, which do we prioritize? We can choose over we should intervene to choice. Secondly, in principle level, national pension system is good for, but moving to my first point. Firstly, do we prioritize choice over intervene? Government sides want to protect people who prioritize positively in short term, but it is very rare case. Some short-sighted people don't want to use the national pension system, but the retired national pension system, the national pension system can't function. The reason is in first speech I clearly told you. But our target is people who can't think in long term and they are short-sighted. Why we should protect them? And in young people, they tend to waste money. They use mathematics, FX, gambling. So if without national pension system, in long term there are no money. Even there are no money, they die or commit crime. That is very bad as government. As government, we should protect the poor people. So national pension system is important. And secondly, committed crime is clearly harm to others. It is bad for society. As national pension system exists, we can protect out of committed crime. So and if we give national pension for elderly people, out of people can live, can take suitable life. They can eat money or they can go to hospital. So it is very good. Secondly, national pension system is good or bad in principle level. My partner clearly told you national pensions, but why national pension system is very important. Without national pension system, elderly people can't sustain life. It is bad for society. Government intervene people to sustain society. That's why we have to oppose.
Thank you for your speech. Finally, I'd like to call reply speaker from government bench to finalize this debate within 4 minutes. Here.
I have two summaries to conclude this debate. Number one, whether states have justification to hugely restrict individual choices by mandating national pension system on all of the citizens. Secondly, which should be prioritized, the citizens who want to use national pension system or those who don't want to be imposed by the state. Before that, several rebuttals to the member of the opposition. Number one, they said in the first refutation, like when more and more people starts to opt out from the national pension system, it increases the burden on young people, and then the burden to care elderly will increase, so it's bad. But they didn't explain the value judgment why this consequence is bad. Because I have already considered in my first speech that there might be some nation's duty by paying tax. For example, this tax will be allocated for the national health insurances, but we are talking about the national pension system, which is directed for the own individual asset. We don't think this is the exclusive harm or exclusive phenomenon to the each side. Secondly, they said, they answered to my POI that at the end of the day, why short-sighted of individual is bad is because amount of money will be different from the both paradigm. So that if the amount of money matters, it doesn't make sense. Why? Because even under both paradigm, even under our paradigm, those people can voluntarily deposit their money to the bank, or they can leave the money on their house. We don't think the amount of money is the exclusive matter. Moreover, my partner already told you, and they didn't refute it to the analysis, is that because under our paradigm, not all people are mandated to opt into national pension system, meaning the number of the people who opt into national pension system is comparatively sustainable under our paradigm, because in this year 1 million people will opt in, and then the 10 years after or 20 years after, if the same number of people opted into national pension system, it's more sustainable than their paradigm, where natural decreasement of national population is occurring. So, having said that first criterion to judge this debate, they raised two reasons. Firstly, people will become short-sighted and irrational, it's bad. And firstly, as I told you, they didn't explain why this short-sighted is a plausible reason to deprive the individual right, even though, as I told you, individual is the best actor to know what is happiness for the individual. But secondly, as my partner already told you, if there is some element that makes people irrational, already states have balanced out by banning the hard drug, which makes people irrational, or by imposing higher tax on the tobacco or alcohol, we have already set the situation that individuals can make rational decisions, since we can assume that those individuals are already rational to the extent they can make free will in the society. Second reason they try to justify their stance is they might commit crime if they have no money, so it's harm to others. If this analysis is true, we have to prohibit companies from setting retirement age, because if they have to welcome the retirement age, they will lose job, they will lose money, they will commit crime, it's harm to others. It doesn't make any sense in this debate. Secondly, which should be prioritized, people who want to use or who don't want to use. In terms of exclusivity, we have two advantages. Firstly, even under our paradigm, those people can still use the national pension system if they want to use. But under their paradigm, those who don't want to use the national pension system are forcibly imposed, meaning this is exclusive harm for those who don't want to be imposed national pension system. The second reason, even if those people cannot use the national pension system fully because of the fluctuated system under our paradigm, there are still other ways for those people to reserve the money or to be saved in the elderly lives. Because as I told you, they can deposit their money to the bank, or even if they didn't do so, there's a usual health insurance which is supported by the tax, which have already conceded that it is the nation's duty to support the elderly. It doesn't make sense in the national pension system. On the contrary, the usage of individual money is exclusive harm in terms of national pension system. That's why I'm happy to propose.
Thank you for the remark. Now our speech is over. Thank you for your cooperation.